we're going. Let me turn this one too.
That may need to be charged after this one.
Yeah. No, I charged it. Here we go. Yep.
Well, I think you guys are going to have a whole lot more forms than what you need, but I'll try to give you as much information as possible. So if you look at the appropriation report, which is the thickest one, it's the one with all of the pages, that's the exact report that we went through at our August meeting. And we went through it line by line. And what you see on that report, what you see in the current column is what our current budget is for this year. And I included in the packet your budget form 1, which matches that current column on the appropriation report. So I think your all's for 2025 is highlighted. I don't know if 2020, did you put you both of them? Okay, yeah. So you're going to have 2 budget forms in your packet. One is 2025 and one is 2026. So the 2025 one is what matches what is on this appropriation report.
Budget estimate.
Yes, that matches what is in the appropriation report. Then the one that is the budget form 1 for 2026 is the numbers that I entered after we had our August 26th meeting earlier this year. Then I also included for you revenue. There's 2 revenue reports. There's one that is portrait and there's one that's landscape. It's the exact same report. The portrait one just gives you a total and the landscape one just gives it to you by the month. So the numbers are exactly the same. It's just it's like a 2-parter report. So the portrait version of it is all of the revenues for this year that we have entered in totals. And then the breakdown is what is in the part 2. Because it says revenue for this year by month part 1 and revenue for this year by month part 2. So this is through the end of September. Now, I have received a couple of October payments and I have received those in. So there is some money in October already, but it's not all in there yet. So don't use the October numbers because there will be more income going into October. But everything from January through September is in that report. But this one shows you the totals of everything. And that's everything that we've brought in for this year. Then I included a fund report with investment. So this is the new report that I found out about over the weekend when I had a clerk treasurer come down from another town, or maybe a city, but I think it's town. And basically what this is it shows you the revenue that we've had year to date, what we've dispersed year to date, and then the balances of the beginning of the year. Some of these balances we didn't have any activity in 24, so it's just what was carried over from 23 when we went on the computer system. And with Trisha, that was the name of the lady that was here, we went through there. So we saw a couple of things that are a little bit, that need to be investigated a little bit. So like the payroll one needs to be investigated. And then there's some of these older ones for the sewer that now that we no longer have a bond, we can probably eliminate those with a resolution or an ordinance and just put it up into sewer operating. But basically what this is it's just a lump sum of everything under the different funds. So when you look at the appropriation report, you see general starts with 1101, but it has all sorts of line items. If you look at the fund report with investments, it's just one line item for general. So it's just, this is just like a what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, well, it's just a gather up of everything. So it's just a one line item thing where the appropriation report is broken down into the individual line items. And then the last report, or the last set of paperwork that is in your folder, is the 1782 form that we had for last year. That was for this year's budget, but we got it last year. So this is the report that we will get from the DLGF after we approve the budget and they do all of their thing. They will send us this version for 2026. I obviously don't have that yet, but this is the one for 2025. So I included that one in the packet as well. So take a look at these, and then we can look at, like, if you want to drill down even more. Because basically what I gave you guys the last time was just this, which was everything. But these are just some of the same information, but just in different formats, really, is what it is. And oh, I was going to say, then I did not make individual copies for everybody of the bank statements, but I did make copies. So they are all here if you want to see those. But I didn't make copies of all of the details from like every single check or anything like that. We have 5 different accounts. So there are the things. And I wrote on the tops of each one of them what the accounts were.
So, if we need to pull apart to figure out where we're going to start discussion. So for 25, we've got everything up till October 1st, so that should reflect the first 3 quarters.
Yes, everything is in there through the end of September.
You know, legal fees we took a bath on.
Yeah, and I have not moved. So you're going to see a couple of negatives over in the far column. That's because I haven't moved anything around because I still want to have like accurate data. So we won't move anything until December to balance out the accounts.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing is not significant numbers.
No, it's not too bad. Because last year when we did the budget, we basically kind of did a rough run. And this year is still kind of a rough run, but a better version of a rough run. Because we still didn't know what all of our expenses truly would be.
Why are we already in arrears with Joey's salary?
Well, Joey's salary comes out of 2 different lines. He comes out of chief of police and he comes out of the lit. So it comes out of two different things. And we found that we're not technically in the arrears. It just has it it's in 2 different departments. And we found some issues with the payroll account. I think it was set up wrong when they originally set it up. So it's something that I'm going to have to research in because some things are getting put in there that shouldn't necessarily be. And it's something that I'm going to have to call Boyce about because we looked at it a little bit on Sunday, but we couldn't find it exactly. We saw one thing that was off, but I have to do some more research with that.
Seems like an allocation issue.
Yeah, well, what it is they have it set up for when the, well, it's only Chris now, but when Chris takes out his deferred comp, it shouldn't be coming out of the payroll account. And that's what it's set up to come out of that, and it shouldn't. So, but it is something that I'm working on. We identified it over the weekend, and then, because it shouldn't be the way that it's showing up on there. So.
district's budget for 25 far in a way beyond what we knew our AV money was going to be. And it looks like, from what I can see, is we're probably still pushing at a very high number.
Well,
What is our AVs for this year anticipated?
it's just going to be 4% more probably than what this one is. That's the guesstimate, because I won't know anything until I get the paperwork back from the DLGF.
They were supposed to give it to you in August. That's what it says on the standard.
So I don't have anything like that. I don't get anything until they approve everything for the year.
Yeah, because it should be in December. I get mine in December.
Yeah, we got this one last year, November the 12th, this particular one. So it should be about 4% more. But that's the guesstimate.
Is that base, that 4%, just where's that come from?
4% is just based on what the cap is for the taxes. Sometimes it's usually always 4%. Sometimes it's 3.8, sometimes it's 3.9. 4% is kind of the.
All right. We're tracking on pretty good for this year. So.
And we have things that we're budgeting in 26 that we know we are not going to spend. Insurance, we budgeted for it. We know unless we can fund the deal of a lifetime, we're not going to spend that money. Park is another one. We budgeted quite a bit of money for the park. I don't think, we budgeted for it, but we didn't spend it last year, and I don't anticipate us spending it, this upcoming year as well. And we even lowered the park budget this particular year.
Oh, we had it inflated for $25,000.
We have a high number for animal control. That's another one.
That's definitely. Park budget, we functionally not spent hardly anything.
Yeah. But we budgeted really, really high for it because we thought, okay, well, maybe if we do, we'll already have the budget there.
Right. The park care and utilities, we did go over our budget on those, but we're putting those together.
Yeah. So park care and utilities is because we, it's the water. We have a new water meter down there, so now we are paying for 2 water meters. We have the porta potties. That's another expense that comes out of park care and utilities. So.
We got the same $40,000 in parks, but we said we had less. It's the same as we got last year.
I thought we lowered our complex. No, maybe we didn't. Well, then that's just me misspeaking because I thought originally that we had lowered our complex amount. Yeah, I don't have a note that we had marked. I was thinking that sports complex was budgeted higher than 25,000.
Yeah, my only note said we were going to absorb some money in technology and repairs and maintenance out of $25,000 this year, but it was all left the same. So we did get the increase in the park care and utilities from 2,000 to 3,500 to account for the extra water meters,
Yeah.
correct? So does this reflect what we talked about as far as Chris 90% of his being taken out of revenue and 10% out of town?
No, that will be with the salary ordinance. I did not adjust because we don't budget for the sewer. So we also budgeted for a new police officer with the cops grant. So I didn't change a lot of the salary part of it because him and Todd's money will come out of the sewer part. 80/20 is what I have written down here.
Well, let's see, 90-10 for Chris, 70-30 for Todd. Is what we discussed.
Well, I mean, that's fine, but it won't happen until the salary ordinance that we adopted.
Right. But these numbers should reflect that, or are we still all in this budget for the payment?
We won't, this particular, the budget that we're currently in, 2025, it won't change. It won't change until 2026. But I allowed for that, plus I allowed for 25% for COPS grant, plus I also allowed for potential pay increases for any of the employees that will take them.
Do we not have many employees taking retirement?
No, only Chris. Well, you guys just passed in this last thing that they couldn't do anything until they've been here for 2 years.
Right, correct.
So Chris is the only employee that's that way.
True. So out of our money, he's only taken
3%.
5%, $500 out of this. No, I'm sorry, $80.22.
Yeah, I don't know if that's 100% because that's part of the payroll thing, and that may be part of the issue because the issue is with the deferred comp. So, and that is something that I'm researching. So don't go by that 80/20 as the true expenditure because that may not be correct.
His payroll should reflect that number, whatever we've taken out, right?
Yeah, his payroll itself would, but it may not report correctly on this particular report because we did identify that the payroll is not set up right when it comes over from the software into fund.
I think that we've not been paying this 3%.
Well, we have been. I mean, I have it. I mean, the amount is coming out in payroll. I just don't think it is hitting the correct fund account here.
I mean, because that's the only place that could come out of, correct?
Well,
so why isn't it coming out of that? Because that's a problem.
I know, I don't know the answer to that because I didn't see it until I just saw it over the weekend that it wasn't balancing out correctly.
Yeah, I definitely want to check with Chris. If we've only paid $80.22 into his retirement, and that'll be a problem. And it should be that way because the systems are supposed to be integrated, right?
Yes.
So the integration should be pulling these numbers together.
Well, but if I pull the deferred comp report from payroll, it's not 80/22. I just don't think it is hitting these fund accounts correctly. Like if I look at it in payroll, it's a totally different number than what is here on this fund amount.
So how much confidence do we really have in voice in the system then? If it's not, is it just that? Because we already see some issues with allocation.
Well, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of all of it at this point, so I'm still learning some of these things. And I mean, I do what I can for everything. So, I mean, it's a lot better than what it was. I mean, we have pretty much a good line of sight on everything else. It just may not be falling in the right buckets for payroll.
If it's not falling in the right buckets for payroll, then how is it hitting into our numbers when it's all integrated? That's what's got me wondering, given no confidence in the system.
I don't have an answer for you.
I mean, do you guys feel the same way? I mean, if we can't get, there should be clarity. I mean, if this truly is, we're paying a high price for voice in the integration system, we should get a clear reporting across that shows, and all the allocations, if set up properly, should be dumping into certain buckets, pulling from certain buckets. I mean, I've worked with these systems before in private industry. That's why you get an
Do we
integrated
know for
system.
sure that it's not, or are we just not sure how maybe to pull it out? Or how?
Well, I mean, I know that I get a different report for payroll, and I don't know how it falls in fund, and I don't know enough of it to, I found out over the weekend when we were looking with this with my other friend, and we were going through things, and she was like, "This isn't right," and it is all about the deferred comp, and I was like, "Okay, well, I have to research all of that," so.
Yeah, but it's pulling money from somewhere, and that's the weird thing, because it's being paid.
But I think it's all dumping into payroll to end the actual line of payroll down at the end because they're not a balanced number.
Because it's correct in the payroll, but it's not correct. It's not
It's
connecting,
not connecting
with that.
correctly in here.
That's something that you could get a little more explanation on.
And if you didn't know, then, and they're not here to tell you whether or not it's doing right. So, I mean, it's kinks you got to work out.
Yeah.
I think this is something that, I've asked for all years, these monthly reports. Monthly reports, if we get those as a council, we're able to ask those questions now and not wait till October. And when we're 9.5 months through business. So these are the things that help with transparency so we all understand it. I mean, I have a background with this stuff, and I know this stuff, and it's not my job, but it is my job to understand it and to approve what's going on. And so I'm just asking for that transparency and clarity, because we can work as a team and better work together to get this done. I'm certain. But when one or two people just hold it, and the information, all of a sudden we come out and we're like, well, this don't make sense. I don't know it. I'm not sure what's going on. Then we're 10 months into it. And I really hope that we've not screwed Chris by not taking the right amount of money out of his check or paying the right amount into his retirement, because that's a disservice to him. We can catch that up, but like I said, systems are built to be ran properly. So, yeah, but if you can get some clarity on that and try to understand how that's going to resurface, because if it's all coming out of our town employees' money, of course we've got $160,000 in there, and we've only spent $102,000, so we still got a significant amount of that for more than a business quarter's worth of money. If somehow it's just pulling from that money, or wherever it is, I don't know. Medical insurance, that was a different thing. We never entertained that. Let's see what else. You guys got any question on that? Okay. I think we need clarity on that to understand. And that's a current year issue versus what we're staring into 2026.
Yeah.
Okay. Reference back to it. And again, are we doing payroll? I know that there was thrown up. Our payroll is shown here, but revenue pays us back. Is that correct?
What do you mean?
So what happens with Chris and them, that pays back into it, but you budget for the full amount of their salary.
Well, we did in 25,
Okay.
but we found out that we don't have to do that anymore. But yes, the answer to that is the sewer account pays into the town for any of the sewer employee amounts, and I transfer that money every single payroll. It's
Okay.
typically, it's usually, well, here you can see it clearly on. It's about 4,000 roughly a month. That's what we did for the 9/19 payroll. It was 4,023.34. But yes, I transfer it after every payroll. So
And that'll reflect last year's numbers. Next year's will be pouring back into it. But it's still a large budgeted amount. What I'm saying is our payroll is still.
So 9.5. Oh, I just didn't see that. So 9.5 we transferred 468.23, 9.19 423.34. So it's roughly $4,000 every 2 weeks.
Okay. So that pours back in from revenue back into it. 8,000. Or is that the difference? Let me ask that question. Is it the difference? Because last year the town employees were 160 and this year it's 100.
Well, but the last year we budgeted for them thinking that the sewer had to be budgeted in with the town for this particular budget,
Right.
and they don't have to be. And I just lowered it a little bit to allow for the cops grant 25%, a little bit of a pay increase, that kind of thing. I just lowered it just a little bit off of that for this upcoming year.
Well, 160 to 100 is a significant amount, not a little bit.
Well, I mean, that's like a person. But the 160 accounted for sewer and town all in one number, and it's not accounting for it that way before. But I mean, if we bring on anybody to mow the grass, if we, any of that kind of stuff, last year we didn't budget for any of that. So we needed to make sure. So I kind of left us a little bit of I don't want to say a slush, but a little bit extra. And I didn't know what type of payment we were going to have for the cops, what kind of police salary we were going to have to do. And if we ended up getting a second grant, because there's talks of possibly, another grant that we found out about over the weekend. So we have some money in that particular budget to be able to, match the 25% or whatever the percentage will be with another one.
So that 100,000 accounts for Brenna's salary, Todd's salary, Chris's salary, correct?
It only
the portions
accounts
of those two.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then you're saying if the cops grant is part of that?
Well, the 25% match would be part of that in the town employees.
Is that 125,000 over
30 years?
3 years, right? So we'll just have a 25% match each year, right? So it's divided by 3, it's $40-something thousand, right? Rough math. So our 25% is going to be about 10 grand.
Well, it's 25% on top of the 125,000 that we're getting.
So the 125,000 is to pay them.
Right. And then we have to pay 25% more. So that's only 75% of the funding.
Okay. That's clarity. All right. So this 100,000, is that enough money though?
Well, but that's only for basically two full-time people and 2 10% peoples. Because
you don't have to bring in
Joey's,
the sewer.
Yes, the 90% of the sewer guys aren't going to be in that number.
Yeah, you have 10% of Chris in there, 30% of Todd,
and then Joey has his own line item, so he's not considered in there either. So, but I mean, I when I was doing all of the math, I mean, I felt like 100,000 was enough to account for everything. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, it may not be, but.
Well, I mean, do you have that calculation so we all can see it and say, okay, this is where we came up with that 100? Because that's the devil's in the details. I'm worried it may not be enough, especially if we get the cops grant and we do need some help mowing and we, pay the rest of it. I don't know that it is or not. This is the clarity I'm seeking. I just want to make sure the numbers we put out are good ones.
I understand. No, I mean, I don't have that particular calculation with the.
I just want to make sure we're asking for that.
Well, and we have, if we do, cemetery has its own line for wages. So that would be where we would pay if we were just doing the Stanleys or the Joe Nolots. That would come out of the cemetery funding, not out of town employees.
So we're looking at 10% of Chris, 30% of Todd, Brenna, and cops grant. So, do some rough numbers in my head. It's 50, 30% of 50,000, 15,000, 25,000. About $60,000. 25,000. Yeah, we're probably $85,000 or $90,000. That's and that would be any other mowing down over here, right?
Well,
Would go against the cemetery.
You go against
So
the
we
cemetery.
wouldn't
It would
need it
not
here.
take. It would not come out of town employees.
Okay. Sounds like we got a little bit built in there. To the point, a little slush fund or a little extra.
Well, and I was trying not to put. Well, and I was trying not to. I mean, I know we have some of these things overinflated, but I tried not to overinflate like we did last year unknowingly. Because last year when we did the 160, I thought that it had to be both lines, and it doesn't. So.
Right. Now, the truth is, we're all learning. That's the truth. So I get that. We did put the 40,000 in. Did Caitlin ever get with you or talk more about?
She's supposed to be sending me a sheet to get everybody filled out.
She didn't think like she had to fix for it. That'd be great.
Well,
if that happened. Social Security, Medicare.
That's just a percentage of the totals.
We did 25,000 last year. We bumped it to 30,000 because we did, but that was accounting for Todd, right? Already, it was already overinflated. We spent only 58% of it. It's more than enough in that account. Supplies. Hit on that. Heck, we ain't run any gasoline out.
Most of the gasoline comes out of the police.
Drop that to $5,000. No. Yeah, drop it to 5. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got the 45 for insurance to account for the audit.
Yeah, when we talked in the meeting, we talked about 42, and then Brenna said that you wanted to bump it up, so I just bumped it to an even 45.
And the reason is because of the audit. And we got bumped for the audit because we thought whatever we budgeted for, we didn't budget enough once we got our audit. We weren't aware of that. So the 45 should protect us from the additional Todd's labor when they audit next year. Town Hall cleaning, we had a 35 last year. We said that we would probably need to account for something for the cleaning of the state bank. It says we've only spent $586 this year in Town Hall cleaning. Is that accurate? Oh, I'm sorry, it's been balanced. That's what we got last. I'm sorry, $586.
Yeah, she's $130 a clean.
So do we need to bump that? Because we are going to use that money. We're going to have to account for it. That's what we talked about again in the budgeting meeting, was adding some number, and she was supposed to be asked about it if that happened. Definitely think we've got to do something with that. anyone have a conversation with her about potentially that
I
coming?
don't think she responded.
She clean here weekly?
Well, she cleans like every 2 to 3.
Yesterday.
Yeah. We've got a whole nother plan to figure out that once it comes to be. Anticipation is it's going to be sometime next year. In budgeting, we've got to figure out where that's going to land, because we have to have somebody, is it our own guys that's stopping in there checking the trash? See if it needs cleaned, or budget some money in that bucket to take care of it. Because I think that's something we definitely have to be aware of. Other thoughts about that?
I mean, if we are up and running next year, I mean, we can try to pull it out of something else.
Just allocate it from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that obviously is always the thing, but if we can plan for it, I don't know. It's somebody with a crystal ball that tells us that, number one, I hope it happens, but then also, does that mean it's going to happen by summer, by fall? Maybe it's a few months. It's not a big deal to allocate. I think the goal that I understand in budgeting has always been to try to prevent allocations, right? So it makes it easier. That's why you put a little bit more into the budgeting numbers, or you make sure you account for
The
things.
bad part about this budget, and I have found over the years, this is not like any other budget you've ever done. Because you really can't control it. The state does, the county. We can budget all we want to, and they say, oh, here's how much we're gonna cut you.
The cut is thin, but we can still plan. And our budget says what we can spend.
I agree what we can plan, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, if they come
But
and
it's
cut
not
it.
like a budget at a private industry, it's not. It's not even close.
Yeah. I agree.
But I'm wondering, I don't think, if everything went the best luck possible, I don't know if that project would even be done this year.
It'd probably be fall.
But we really need to see kind of what it cost us. Maybe a little bit. We don't even know for sure if Brady's is going to kick in anything. We're a lot of unknowns right now. But I agree, we need to. But if we think we've got enough to cover a quarter of a year, then we can see in that quarter what it's really going to cost. Maybe we can add it in next year. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we can just rest on the fact we don't know. We'll just allocate whatever comes up, and then maybe have a better idea.
It's kind of like the same thing with the maintenance of the trail. We don't know.
I don't know that we do know to some extent if we ask Ernie, because the town did it for years. We sprayed the sides down for years and took care of it.
So we didn't spray it. The railroad took care of it.
Brother, I live on the railroad just like you do, and I watched Ernie drive by all the
Well,
time.
no, he sprayed the edges of the road. Yeah, he done that. But I'm talking about both sides and really doing it right. No, we've never done that. The railroad used to use a granular, back when you were probably wearing Borden, or when you were young. They used a granular thing. It was time release. They done it once a year. And I don't know. It must have been so good that it's illegal.
It's illegal. Yeah. Well, I mean, then I'll go back. What did Ernie spend on when he was spraying? When he would spray down the entire Main Street area that was bad?
Well, it was just his labor because the chemical was given to the town every year.
Oh, okay. Well, that's even better.
Not that it will be, and you can ask. I've told Brent a few times. I said, Rural King's got stuff on us just to keep. The real we'll have to buy, but to kill the type of weeds that we're going to need, we're going to have to get something that we can't. You and I can't buy. It's going to have to be you're going to have to be a licensed applicator to buy it.
I was talking to Dan more a little bit about it, side note, because that's what he did for years. Bill, he said you can buy 2,4-D over the counter, and he said to take care of all those weeds.
So he's wrong. He's mistaken. I've already talked to some people.
Well, we need to find out what that is. That's another meeting subject. But I think that we just need to at some point plan, and I know we got to
I
check.
know, I agree with you. We need to know, but it's kind of hard sometimes with all this new stuff. I like to find some kind of, who's this boy weed eating?
I'm sorry.
Who's this boy running the weed eater up and down the side trail?
It's probably a volunteer because they were having some weed wrangling people and
He done a
stuff
whole
like
bunch
that.
yesterday. And I seen, I don't know if it's that or somebody, Rick's on there.
Now Rick has
Well,
had
they
Dean
might have.
Klein out there spraying around his portion of it. I
Well,
see
there's a
Dean
kid
Klein.
actually yesterday weed eating. But he was weed eating the trail because he was throwing rocks out in the road. And he would stop when a car would go by. And I didn't know who that was.
Maybe Rick's boys, because I know Dean Klein was out there one day spraying up and down around it when we were walking on behalf of Rick. He did a little maintenance stuff with him.
Hope it looks better next year than it does this year.
You know, we have to make a commitment to make sure it does. That's the bottom line. We have to figure out what it's going to take to keep our town looking good. If it's just within the boundaries of the town, or at least the paved sections of it or whatever, but if you look at Main Street, if you call that our borders that we can really have effect on, and you run up right past Brandon's driveway right there to that point, all there down to where it stops being. I mean, if we can keep that looking nice, then that I think would be a significant part of our work.
I think we should be able to accomplish it with maybe a small investment.
Well, if we got to check for $750.
Anyway, you charge for $750 plus. I'm gonna suggest that at our next trail meeting, I think that Brady should get a piece of equipment for each town to use as an attachment to the tractor or something like that, to where we have an interlocal agreement. You get this piece of equipment, you guys help us with mowing down the.
Or if Radius would enter into an interlocal agreement with the county, so if they've got the equipment, they could do it in less than a day.
Right.
The one where they reach out, it's got the mower out on the boom. They can just go right up through there, down and back, done.
Yeah.
Then we can keep it sprayed.
Very good point.
No, I like that part too. I'm mentioning that.
Well, that's $750. We can buy some bulk weed killer or something.
Right, we can buy quite a bit of spray material for that.
Or hire somebody to do it 2 or 3 times a year.
That might be the most way to protect us better is hire somebody to do it. That way, because none of our guys have applicator licenses.
Right.
If somebody's dog gets sick or cat dies.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah, he needed me to call police for him. Because he's a dude and he can't do it on his own.
Yeah. Dad?
No, it was Nick. That's why I took the call, because he never calls me. So.
Okay.
Why are you calling?
I know. Well, that's why I was like, I better answer this, because normally it's just a text message. But he said that there's a large hay bale on 60 as you're coming towards Borden, and he wanted me to let Joey know that there was a hay bale. I was like, well, I'll just call the non-emergency number and let him know. So that's what I did. So don't go up 60 because there's a large hay bale in the middle of the road. Some people are having to go around it.
That's worth about $50.
I don't know how big. I don't know if it's one of the round ones or if it's just a square one, but it's apparently a large hay bale.
I take it.
So, fine.
Jumping on to the next page, and back down on the first page, I think I ran all the way down for all the questions I got.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the back, we get the local road and streets, LRS. Street supplies went from $1,360, we haven't spent a penny, to $3,750.
Well, hold on, because what we basically did is we moved, we got rid of some of the other accounts, like the bit material was an individual line item, and we just moved it all up into the street supplies.
That's exactly that we put on the notes, because we
So
basically put together. Ran it up to 2,000.
And we moved the salt. Well, I have a note here for move salt, but that was for something else. But yeah, we just basically kind of eliminated some of those, and then just dumped it all into one account.
Snow removal went to 3,500.
Yeah, we learned our lesson last year. Hopefully we won't have. I know, that's exactly what I was going to say.
So we went 2,300. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Electric 2,300. We need to spend a penny.
Well, we're getting ready to because we're over in the MVH one, so it'll move now to LRS for us.
Okay. I guess you have to do that allocation for them to know
I will fix
turn
that.
over. Okay. 30,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Highway, that is our road maintenance. We're at 47.5, and we went right back there for this year, and we spent 35 of it. That was the extension of. Was that on the workup day deal? 35. They're still.
Yeah, that's the paving. The 35,000 is the CNR for Daisy Hill.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's the
Did
only.
you ever hear anything from the county on that yet? On that ditch to clean out?
No, I'm waiting
We're
on
gonna
Jack.
have to hire somebody to do that if they're not gonna get through it.
Well, that Tim Cochran no longer works with the county, so they got a new guy named David, and so Jack was getting with David.
Lost a good one. Alright, MBH. Gravel 1,400. 50, 17. Double snow removal on that one too. We doubled down on snow removal.
Well, after last year when we had to pay all that, then we probably won't have a single flurry this year.
I hope we don't.
Or maybe we could have them, just don't have them where we actually have to shovel the snow.
Don't have ice. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Ice is what's the killer.
So that's the rest of Joey's salary. So the police salary, shouldn't that have monies that we're needing for a cops grant in there versus in a town employee?
Well,
Wow.
I don't think
You cannot have it in there in the budget for the police. We can have it in the employee part, but we can't have it set into and identified.
yeah, I think that's a
police.
part of the grant. Like I
Yes.
think that's a line item like thing that you can't do it that way.
Okay. Makes sense. Right. Is that clothing allowance sufficient?
But Joel's sitting there with us. He said it.
At our workshop.
Yeah.
Not doing things.
Well, and we also have
Yeah, it says 1,500 on my notes.
we also have supplies that we could pull that from too if we have to, because we have a large amount of supplies, which I know we were doing ammo, tasers, breath, body armor, the whole thing for that 11,000. However, we're going out for grants for most, if not all of that. So,
Well,
you know.
Between the
and we
line
may
stuff
need
and
more
one
'cause
car.
when we've done this and we figured all this, I think we had maybe one extra policeman in our mind, but we may have one or two more by it.
Yeah. So we can also use supplies as, clothing allowance too.
Which we did add another reserve officer vest to the request for Woodcar and to Line Slub. So
the ammo, just for the qualified, is so expensive, and the ammo is so high.
Yeah, my initial notes say ammo for 1,500, based on what he said. At that initial meeting, 1,500 for ammo, 4,000 for tasers, 1,000 for breath, and 4,500 for body armor.
Also, you can buy a case of 9mm for $250 ship free, and that would be significant. So we've got plenty of money budgeted for that.
Well, and we have a little bit of flexibility in there too to be able to kind of move things around as we, as we need. Nick just said sorry that he had to interrupt.
So come in. Tell him he's buying dinner.
He's forgiven.
He's probably on McDonald's. I don't.
No.
We had McDonald's last night.
Center went to up, so it was 80. It went to 9,000 to cover it.
And that number came from the paperwork that they supplied to us, where we are 0.2281% and it's 822267 based on their budget. So I think we should be closer to
Yeah, we should. Yes. Called Congressman. Congresswoman. Let's just say 40,000 in, that should be sufficient. That accounts for all. Rainy days still at 5,000.
Yes, and we'll have to do the same thing we did last year, so that they will allow us to have 5,000 for next year too.
So we all feel that we have sufficient money built into these numbers, with limited issues that will cause fate issues and doing allocations.
Well, like I said, until we actually do the numbers, we don't call it our budget.
Well, this truly is a number. This is our operating number until we figure out what money we got. And then obviously we have money when the accounts yet. We've got money to initiate our budget from
But,
that.
you know, what we asked for and what we put in there, don't mean we're gonna get it, that's all I'm saying.
Well, what we
But
get
we
is
have
what
to
we
put
get.
the right amounts, yeah.
Right.
I think we'll be pretty close though, because I mean our budget didn't change too terribly different than what it was the year before.
But
So
nobody really knows what this house bill's gonna be.
I know. Well, and that for 27 it will be a lot different. So, but I think that there's still going to be a lot of changes just that take place in 26 for the 27 budget. So, because nobody really knows what that looks like yet.
Price of hamburgers.
I'm not frying hamburgers, I'm going to go
What's up, bro?
Big
Bitty ball.
Emma's coaching and Grant's playing.
Oh my gosh, that'd be fun.
No, it ain't.
He's a,
He is a character, I'm telling
he's a
you.
little Justin.
Oh my gosh, yes he is. Yes he is.
5,000 operating.
Justin says he's terrible. I said, Justin, he's not terrible. He goes, he's terrible.
Is that you or me? No, that must be
No, my husband just bought a knife.
Oh,
He got 3 in the mail yesterday.
Oh,
He's like addicted to knives.
291 in the Seward County operating budget. Yeah,
That's the money market too.
the money market's 291 and 25, 262 is in September. I love seeing that interest. Can't believe all the money that the last administration pissed away by not doing that.
Now, so far to date, our interest has been almost 17,000.
And in the past, they paid $158 a month. They paid the bank, and there was no interest earned across
The
the.
sewer interest has been 8170.
oh my God.
So she's done amazing doing all.
Cemetery, well, we're really racking it up in the cemetery. $122.
Yeah. Hey, but that's more than the cemetery's ever made versus the.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a. You wonder, like, how long can that last?
Well, I think what we're going to do, based on what I was talking to Rufla too, is we are going to probably close down the actual cemetery bank account and be able to put that, because it's accounted for in our fund, but then have that money be able to sit up in our money market for the town, and then that will just be a little. It won't be drastic amounts, but it'll be a little bit more.
Because it really doesn't get a lot of revenue. When
No.
you look at how many plots we sell a year,
4,000 so far this year is all we've done.
and then how much do we count for mowing and upkeep?
Yeah. So, but it can, it can generate.
It's
No,
not
it's
money.
not.
But it's not a money drag either.
Right, it's a,
So, but we can, because the money is accounted for in the cemetery operating and the cemetery trust, those two amounts. So we're just going to put it all up in the money market.
Well, we've got over $1 million in our main money market account. It's
Because
my
of
big
grant money. Yeah, it's grant money mainly.
Yeah.
Yes, about 500,000.
It's getting a lot of money.
Well, I mean, because we're 200 something thousands tourism, and we got the this ARPA money is in there. So as much as money as we can keep up there, when keep enough in the operating, then is what we keep up there. So.
All right. Let's see what else we got. Anything else? Revenue by month.
Yeah, I mean, these reports are basically all the same. It's just they're just kind of broken down a little bit differently to kind of help.
It gets us the detail to where we understand. Like I said, I think we got some work to understand why the allocations aren't working properly.
Well, definitely with the payroll one for sure.
So that's definitely an area. I mean, everything else looks realistic as far as what I would think we would spend at that percentage that's left based on what it is.
Yeah, and I haven't moved anything because I don't want to move anything until the end of the month or the end of the year, because I want to have true numbers so we kind of know what we ended up with.
Right. What other questions we got? I'll share this call. All right, the other thing we're waiting on is the AV report. Right.
Yeah, but we won't get anything from that until after we do the budget adoption on Tuesday.
We should get another revenue check from the county in December.
Yeah, our revenue, well, you can see it on there, what we brought in for the property taxes is 132,953, So my guesstimate, December's is always less than June's. June's is always the higher of the two. So it'll probably be, and this is totally just a guess, but I'm going to say it's probably going to be in the 127, 128 range. 132, 953. And it comes usually in at the middle part of the month.
I honestly don't want to create a rift among this. I may seem like a troublemaker, but the data that I asked for, I don't think is outside of my right or responsibility to the town and the residents. This meeting tonight, had it happened before, in preparation would have prevented any.
I think we're all learning. I think we're all learning what, Faith is learning, it's all new. Because the budget that years past was nothing.
Well,
It's just,
it doesn't preclude the town from planning. It doesn't preclude from doing due diligence and not saying, hey, here's our budget. So what we got. We hope we're going to get the money to get there.
always before, when you were on the council, you probably just seen a little bit of it. You were handing, here's what we asked for, a month later, here's what we got, and that's all the input you had.
That's all we did.
This is really good. I mean, we're getting there, we're getting there.
Well, I recall that's why you quit. That's why you resigned. Because you weren't getting information out of the clerk's office.
Well, there was
Help you do your
information I
job.
was getting lied to about, and I knew it. I was smart enough to figure that out.
Those things we just, I would hope we can collectively stop and just work together.
I think
We went through 2 seasons like this. So, just teamwork. That's all I got. Anything else?
Close.
Make a motion. Somebody make a motion. Close it.
I make a motion, we close the meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All. Close it.